What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So for today's movie review, we are taking a look at the film called The Free Fall. Now, this is a film, I'm not sure exactly how you would want to establish the release date on this one. So there are some sites that are taking the 2021 release date from October because it was premiered at a film festival, but then it got its, I guess, broader US release in January 2022. So some are saying it was released in 2021, some are saying it was released in 2022. So I guess just based on what I can see in Hulu, where this is streaming at, it is saying 2021, so that's what I'm going to base it on. So if you happen to look up this film, and just in case there's another film out there by the same name or a similar name, it is the film from 2021. That's the official release date it's giving. I'm not sure why there's always this discrepancy when it comes to an official release date between listing a festival date versus a broad theatrical release date or digital release date when it comes available to the broader community, the broader population. So again, if you happen to look this one up, that's the date we're going with. So as I just mentioned, this is currently streaming on Hulu, so if you have Hulu, that's where you can find it at. I am not sure. Now, I know Hulu for the US, that's where you can find it now. As far as for international people, I'm not sure if this is on Disney Plus or not. I would imagine it should be, because the two platforms are, at least in the US, the two platforms are connected. So typically what I can find on Hulu, I can go find on Disney Plus. So if you are international, and my understanding is some international markets do not have Hulu, but you do have Disney Plus, check it out. You might be able to find it on there. But for US people, it's on Hulu. So we are going to be talking some spoilers here, but we're not going to, again, I'm trying to bump up S1 level, so to speak, my film reviews to where we're not spending a lot of time in the weeds, in the minutia of the details. I want to try and get them a little bit higher level to leave a little bit of information that's not necessarily known, so you can go into a film not knowing exactly every single step of the movie, every single thing that's going to happen. At least there's still some surprises left, but we will be talking spoilers for this film. So again, if we don't hit on exactly point by point for films moving forward, this is why. So a little bit of background on this film before we get into it. Now, like I said, it did get that US release date in January 2022. It didn't, from what I can see, it did get a global box office release. At least it's listed as global box office, but I can't find a breakdown of exactly what markets. But gross worldwide, this film didn't do well. It only got roughly $33,000 at the global or gross worldwide box office. So it's not very well. It's not very good. And I couldn't find any details as far as the budget goes for this film. Now, it does star, there are three primary actors and actress for this film, and that is Andrea Londo, Shawn Ashmore, and Jane Badler. Now, there are other actors and actresses throughout the film, but they play very, very small parts, and they're either one of the, Andrea, the actress who plays Sarah, is, looking out a window and she sees two of the other actors or actresses outside, or at the very end of the film, we start to see some of these other supporting characters come up. But again, they're in the film for roughly 5 to 8 minutes, if that. So it's very, very small. So it's a very small cast of these three individuals. Again, it is listed as it's kind of listed as an odd category. It's listed as drama, horror, mystery. Now, when you watch the film, so we're going to get into spoilers now, because I feel this is important, because I didn't know this about the film until I watched it last night. And again, side note, the reason we're doing this film, even though it is from 2021, I know there are many people over the last couple of years that are starting to get into the horror genre, so some of these films you may not be aware of or know about. And even some established horror fans may still not know about this film that's out there on Hulu. I think some of these smaller ones either get looked over or just aren't known about. So that's why I do a mix of some older films, some unknown films versus some of the blockbuster films. Like today, I'll be watching Companion, and then doing my non-spoiler review on that, only because that one is just not even two and a half weeks old. So I know a lot of people still haven't seen that yet, and I don't want to fully spoil that. But because this one's over 4 years old, I feel it's okay to get into spoilers. So on the genre, again, it's listed as drama, horror, mystery, but this is clearly, in my opinion, it turns out to be, I would say, kind of leaning into the religious horror, exorcism, demonic possession, because that's where this ends up leading you into, as far as how the story it ends. Now, when you watch the first 98% of this film, you kind of don't think that's what's happening. I mean, you have an idea, could it be something like that, but you really don't know. You're kind of left guessing and continuing to watch the film to try to figure out what exactly is going on, because there are some things that take place in the film that make you believe that it could be something as simple as the medication that she's being given to make her feel this way or drive her crazy. And that is in fact not the case. As the film comes to an end in the last 10-15 minutes is when we start to realize she's possessed, and not just possessed by one demon, she's possessed by Satan and a number of other demons. At least that's what we're led to believe. Ultimately, though, it turns out to just be one, and I'll explain how we know that to be. So again, we have the three primary actors and actresses. So we're going to get into now the spoilers of what this movie is about, and then I'll give my rating on it. I'll try to be impartial, because you all know demonic possession, exorcism, religious horror is my favorite subgenre. And I didn't know that's what this film was going into it until it got to the end. Now, I'm not going to allow the last 5 minutes of this film sway me that, because it had this, it's an automatic win, it's an automatic great film. I'm not going to allow that to sway me. So I just want to put that out there on the table now. So this film this one starts off pretty much right from the get-go. So Sarah, she's our primary character that we're following throughout this. So at the very beginning of the film, she's showing up to her parents' house. It's her parents' anniversary. She's there to celebrate her parents' anniversary. And she has a sister. Her sister's name is Julie. And Julie is, obviously looking to avoid the festivities of that evening. And even though things are rough between Sarah and her parents, she's still excited to go there and, celebrate and have, let them have their night, their moment for their anniversary. But as Sarah reaches the home, she walks into the room upstairs to what she sees. And I'll explain the film from what we're seeing as the film starts, and then I'll explain how things change up. So she's seeing her and experiencing her mother retiring her father, and then she retires herself. And then moments later, we see Sarah in a bathtub trying to retire herself because of the trauma. So we have we start off the film with three hardcore events. And I'm going to say, and I use some of the terms I'm using just to be sensitive of, not just of, YouTube content, but of some of the subject matter that gets covered in horror films. So I will say, if you can read between the lines of what I just said, if that type of subject content is hard for you, difficult for you, I would say avoid this movie altogether, because it continually comes up, especially for Sarah's character. So again, if that is a subject matter that you are not, again, you've had experience with yourself, or other people have, and it's not easy for you to watch, again, do not watch this film. It comes up quite often, and it is a pivotal point of the story. So avoid it at all costs, and I would probably even avoid continuing with this video, because again, we are going to talk about it a little bit more. So once this happens, the movie kind of cuts, and we come to a point where Sarah's now waking up, and she has no memory of what's happened. It seems like she's lost all memory of those events. She doesn't realize her parents are no longer alive, and she doesn't realize that there's a rift between her and her sister. She can't even remember her husband, Nick. So Nick's there taking care of her, wants her to get rest, wants her to get her strength, and is just really like overbearing on top of her, like not allowing her to really move about without him knowing what is she doing, where is she going. But one thing you'll find very quickly here is she's confined to the house. She goes outside in the yard, but the whole story, this whole movie happens literally within the house, except for one moment she's out in the flower bed with another character that's in this film, and her name is Rose, which we'll come across. She's the housekeeper, the maid, which does play a small part, not too pivotal, but I think enough to add to the character for Sarah. So as time goes, as the story moves forward, she's noticing her surroundings are very different. There's things that she's looking for that aren't there, like a grandfather clock or pictures, or like the bathtub that was I previously just mentioned. And when she brings these things up to Nick mentions, "Oh, I had them removed. I didn't want them to upset you. I'm trying to help you move on," things of that nature. So instead of and we're almost trying to figure out, she can't remember anything, Nick's not allowed, and then Nick won't allow anybody to come into the house, like her sister, a doctor, things that she believes that who would be there aren't there, and he's really giving her the message, I have a problem with them, I don't agree with the doctor's diagnosis, your sister did all these things behind my back. He's really making everyone out to be the bad people that she would be reaching out to or want there. So again, as this moves on, and as Sarah becomes, I don't want to say becomes more aware, but she starts having these flashes where she's seeing certain people, she's seeing certain things like the grandfather clock, or she's remembering or seeing herself in the bathtub trying to crawl out of the bathtub, almost as if she's trying to save her life or get to her parents, right? So we keep seeing these flashes. And there's even a moment where she's laying in bed and she's seeing a flash of a doctor and her sister. They're in the room with her. Once she, I don't want to say realizes, but comes fully to, almost as if she's waking up, she goes over to the window and sees them outside with Nick. Nick's telling them to leave, pretty much don't come back. He comes back upstairs and she's like, they were in the room with me. And he fully convinces her, no, they're not in the room. They were never in here. I would never let them in the house or in the room with you. But again, she's very convinced that she was literally just in the room. They were there with her, examining her, trying to talk to her. And there's even points where the phone rings, she picks up the phone, and it's telling her, someone's on the other line trying to talk to her, telling her to wake up. And again, the phone is taken from her, hung up by her husband. Again, he's trying to seclude her from any contact with anyone besides her. And then there's another time where we see an individual, we don't know who he is. We don't know who he is until the end. He just comes across and he says, "I'm a friend of your sister's." She sees him. He gives her a key, and the key is to a door that leads to the third floor. Now, she's tried to access this third floor before, but the maid has made sure she does not get access to it. They keep it locked because they feel if she goes up there that she might try to self-harm herself again, as far as the height of being on the third floor, and there's windows up there. So they try to make sure she doesn't get up there. So story moves on. Again, more and more things are starting not to add up. She's having more and more of these visions, more and more seclusion, and then all of a sudden Nick wants to have a dinner party. All your friends miss you, they want to see you, so they have this dinner party. But leading up to this, we did see on one separate occasion where Nick was giving her medicine. Didn't know what the medicine was, she doesn't know what it was, she just knows that she's being given it to her by her husband, believing that it's supposed to be helping her. So we get to this dinner party, and it appears that these are people she doesn't know, even though they're coming across as her friends. And as this group is talking, they're talking about cannibalism, they're talking about, human history over time, and you can almost see like, wait a minute, is this a cult? Is this like some sort of human sacrifice situation? And she's not sitting next to her husband, which I found was odd, which I thought was going to lead to something, and it does. So one of the other individuals that's there decides he's going to try to put his hand on her leg. She immediately, what we see is her stabbing him in the hand. But what ultimately we find out through a freeze frame flashback where she's kind of almost like an experience out of her body. As she looks back, she's actually seeing herself stabbing him in the neck. And as you see here on the screen, we come to this scene where she is in this bathtub of what is perceived to be blood, and her husband is wearing a pig's head, and he's speaking in a demonic, supernatural tone. And this is almost being treated as if this is some sort of baptism to bring her to the other side, like almost to hell, so to speak. Soon as this ends, she rushes upstairs, and when she rushes upstairs, she gains access to the key. Her husband follows her into the room, and then all of a sudden, that sister's friend, shows up with a cross and starts yelling at the husband. And immediately, right then and there, you can see that it has an impact on the husband. He gets thrown back, and then he does something to throw this individual back, which then automatically makes you believe, okay, this is demonic possession. Why does he have a cross? This could be an exorcism type matter. She makes it up to the third floor. She's at the window. She looks down and sees that this individual is now downstairs. He manages, which doesn't make very much sense, to throw up holy water at the husband, which burns him, which now she truly believes either what she's seeing isn't real or she's imagining it. So she decides to take a leap of faith. And then that pretty much, I don't want to say bounces her back, but she ends up, when she's going into that third floor, before she gets to the window, she's also being attacked by what appear to be various demons who are being portrayed by the guests that were at the dinner table, which then leads her to this light. And we see this bounce back to almost what we now believe is reality. She's tied down to the bed like in a true exorcist type fashion. That sister friend was in fact a priest. The doctor is there. Her sister is there. The husband isn't there. The husband was never real. So they're performing now this exorcism on her, and they appear to exorcise the demon out of her. And she comes to, now the doctor's left, the priest is left, and the priest, before he leaves, tells her, hey, you need to be careful, you're still weak, you could still be possessed, you don't want to let your guard down. So, okay, understood. And now it's just the sister there talking to her. The sister then immediately says 3 or 4 phrases that the husband had said to her when she was possessed, hands her a pill to take, which was the exact same type of pill that she took while she was, again, while she was possessed. So we are now led to believe that the demon that was possessing her, Sarah, has now possessed her sister, and the priest and the doctor have no knowledge of this prior to them leaving. So now Sarah, no longer possessed, is now dealing with her sister, who has now the demon inside of her. And that's where we end the film. So, there's a lot more that happens in this film. Again, we're keeping it very high level here, but you don't know this has anything to do with demonic possession or exorcism until you get to the end of the film, which was a bit of a surprise, because for me, as I was watching this, I was just trying to figure out, okay, what is going on? What is this? Is she just having a psychotic break? Is she delusional? Is this all just an imagination? Is she in like a psychiatric hospital? Again, this is all just something she's just making up in her head. And that wasn't the case. So it's one of those films that you're trying to figure out as you watch, which can get a little frustrating at times. But I think for me, it kept me engaged enough to want to keep watching to find out how does this end or what is happening. So overall, I would give it at least a 3, maybe even a 3.5. I think it's worth checking out. It's not one of those typical horror films where it's just constant gore, there's constant kills, all that type of stuff. It's not like that at all. This is very much as it's titled. It's a mystery. I wouldn't say it's a thriller. It's a mystery horror. There is drama into it, and they do sprinkle in the exorcism, religious horror aspect into the end of it. So easy 3.5 for me. Even though I like that subgenre, it's not going to sway me to go higher than that, because again, I did feel I was spending more time a bit confused trying to figure out what's going on versus just easily following the story along. So that is the review for the Free Fall. Again, you can find this on Hulu in the US. If you're international, it might be out there on Disney Plus, so check it out if you are interested in it. We are going to be doing some more movie reviews this week. Like I mentioned, we're going to be doing The Companion. We're going to be watching it today and posting it hopefully by tomorrow, but it will be a non-spoiler review. I will not be spoiling that film, so if you haven't seen it, feel free to check out the video. We're going to keep it very high level, pretty much to whatever content has been put out there, either in the trailer or just in the general synopsis summaries, and just adding in, what we thought of it as a very high level review. So expect that to come out. But again, we're going to keep the reviews pretty much a mix of newer films and older films, and we might even start going back and doing some classic horror films as well that many of us have seen, but just to kind of mix it up a bit as well. So all right, everyone, that's going to do it for this movie review. If you haven't done so, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think if you've seen The Free Fall. And if you have, what was your score? Did you agree or disagree with us? Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Peace.